Prayer is an important thing and becomes the main axis of a believer's faith. Prayer is the second pillar of Islam after saying the two words Shahada. It is a pillar of religion that has been imposed on Muslims who are mukallaf. Prayer education starts from the age of children who are 7 years old and are beaten at the age of 10 if they don't do it. Anyone who abandons prayer is if he is demolishing religion through the practice of praying 5 times a day, which is required by God for every believer. It becomes the basis for the birth of the character of piety in a person. Coronavirus disease COVID-19 is an infectious disease caused by the SARS-CoV-2 virus. Most people infected with the virus will experience mild to moderate respiratory illness and recover without requiring special treatment. However, some will become seriously ill and require medical attention. Older people and those with underlying medical conditions like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, chronic respiratory disease, or cancer are more likely to develop serious illness. Anyone can get sick with COVID-19 and become seriously ill or die at any age.
The Al-Mustaghfirin Mosque in Sungai Tiram, Bayan Lepas has been closed indefinitely after 2 COVID-19 cases were detected there. This morning, health workers sanitized the mosque building before a notice was put up at the main gate announcing the closure. The mosque's caretaker, Abdul Aziz Hassan, 67, told the News Straits Times that 2 COVID-19 cases were traced to the mosque.
There are 3 questions about congregational prayer when COVID-19 hits our country. First, does COVID-19 have an impact on worship among Muslims community? Second, how worship in the mosque is carried out when the COVID-19 epidemic hits Malaysia? Last but not least, how SOP is implemented when Muslims perform worship in the mosque. As we know, mosque is a place where the Muslims community gather to perform worship or other affairs related to daily life. Basically, Muslims gather at mosque at least 5 times a day, which is during congregational prayer. But at the end of the day, the world was surprised by the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. The spread of the epidemic also affected activities related to the establishment of the mosque institution. The presence of the congregation in the mosque today depends entirely on the SOP that has been set by government. Worship in the mosque is carried out when the COVID-19 epidemic hits Malaysia with a set of step-by-step instructions, or namely Standard Operating Procedure, which is SOP. Community life began to be tied to SOPs set based on the trend of the spread of COVID-19 cases. The implementation of SOPs in mosques, such as limiting the attendance of congregations, postponing obligatory Friday prayers, requiring wearing a face mask, keeping a distance of 1 meter, and scanning the MySejahtera code. It is also requiring 2 doses complete vaccination and carrying own prayer rug are among the SOPs that Muslims must do. Lastly, a decision that is made based on facts and current reality aims to avoid more harm among the community from the virus COVID-19.
The concept of Ibadah Salah. What is worship in Islam? The definition: from the term Ibadah, which means to feel humble, to obey, to serve. Literally, to feel committed or khusyuk to God. refer to Surah Az-Zariyat, verse 56. I have only created jinns and men that they may serve me. Therefore, the main purpose of our creation is to serve and obey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. In Arabic, ibadah is connected with related words such as ubadiyah or slavery and has connotations of obedience, submissions, and humility. The word linguistically means obedience with submissions. In Islam, ibadah is usually translated as worship and means obedience, submission, and devotion to God. According to Yusuf Al-Qardawi, ibadah comes from the word abd, which means obey, to worship, to serve, and to enslave oneself. According to Abdul Ala Al-Maududi, ibadah or worship is a total surrender to Allah alone, total obedience to Allah alone without any feelings of doubt, and follow His divine guidance.
Next is the law of performing congregational prayers during COVID-19. Has been agreed by all the international fatwa institutions regarding the law of congregational prayer during COVID-19. And from the official decision, it has been informed that it is necessary on the side of Shara to temporarily stop the time of congregational prayer in all areas following the spread of the COVID-19 epidemic. In the statement, it was outlined the decision that this postponement should continue until this epidemic can be controlled based on the assessment of the party responsible for determining it. The legal decisions that has been submitted together with Shara arguments that clearly show that congregational prayer in a situation where there are harmful things is not obligatory and should be avoided for a while until the situation returns to normal. Lastly, among the arguments that is from Surah Al-Baqarah from 195, which is from firman Allah Ta'ala, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, وَلَا تُلْقُوا بِأَيْدِكُمْ إِلَى تَهْلُكَةٍ, which means, and do not deliberately throw yourself into the danger of destructions.
Congregational prayer requirement during COVID. First, widen the prayer line during praying. Before discussing the consideration between the problem, it needs to be understood that physical confinement in congregational prayer during the COVID-19 pandemic does not mean neglecting religious care, because from the point of view of Maqasid Sharia, preserving religion is indeed priorities. However, in this regard, the preservation of life from the danger of COVID-19 cannot be ignored. This is so because taking care of life is the original purpose, Maqasid al-Asli, to take care of religion. In other words, preserving life is the basis for preserving religion, because if the Islamic people are in a healthy and strong state, then they can conduct religious affairs well. In the meantime, as long as Muslims perform congregational prayers, then the maintenance of religion will continue to be carried out even if physical confinement is implemented temporarily. The ijtihad in dividing the roles of prayers is based on the consideration of maslahah between daruriyat and tahsiniyat. Daruriyat is a need that reaches the level of emergency and if not met can cause disability or inconvenience to humans. The absence of tahsiniyat does not cause lameness of difficulties for humans. If there is a conflict between daruriyat, protecting life from COVID-19 disease, and tahsiniyat, completing the line of prayer, then in this case, daruriyat must take precedence. This is because when people are out of the ordinary caused by an epidemic or illness, then they must carry out God's commands based on their respective abilities. Second, wearing a face mask during prayer. In addition to physical distancing during prayer, congregations are also required to pray by wearing a face mask. Wearing a face mask is one of the most important COVID-19 prevention measures, especially when physical distancing is difficult to maintain. The use of a face mask is recommended as a simple barrier that can help prevent fluid from the nose and mouth from spreading into the air, especially when a person coughs, sneezes, or talks. There is a hadith that states that prayer in the habit of closing the mouth is makruh. This is because Arab people cover their mouths during prayer with a turban to protect themselves from the cold and hot air. So, the prohibition of covering the mouth is because the act can prevent the perfection of leading in prayer and the perfection of prostration. However, if there is a need or inconvenience to do so, then it is required to close the mouth during prayer. In the context of the spread of COVID-19, the law of wearing a face mask during congregational prayer is necessary because there is a need to prevent the risk of infection spreading to other congregations, or risk potential complications and things that can contribute to this harm must be avoided and eliminated as much as possible. Therefore, wearing a face mask is one of the efforts to avoid harm due to COVID-19 infection. The government decision in setting the condition for congregational prayer in public place of worship is made on the basis of the goodness and welfare of the people.
The wisdom or hikmah of congregational prayer during COVID-19. Being a human nature, when tested, then he will immediately return to God. Inability people face material hardship, suffering from dangerous diseases that bring death is the main motivation for return to religion spontaneously. In dealing with the pandemic as a Muslim, a lot of wisdom and reflection that can be taken advantage of. First of all is back in the arm of the family. On the other hand, the pandemic test, this is also can be seen as capable of generating value human beings live as family within us. When the movement control order was first introduced, we had a very wide space for interact again with husband, wife or children. This opportunity should be fully taken for us to get to know family members again, as well as rebuilding the idea of sakinah, mawaddah and rahmah in the family. Go back to being a husband and a father who has the image of a leader, to teaching and look back at the family deficiency in their Ibadah prayer, for example, and protector of the family. Back to being the children of desired parents, this white space should be taken advantage of by making changes begin from ourselves. This is the time we prove the saying, my family, my heaven. Next is give awareness to the servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A believer who is tested, they are patient and make them repent with the sins that have been committed and repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a sense of servitude. With the order to ban congregational prayers during a pandemic, it will make the servant aware that when the blessing of a certain act of worship has been withdrawn, there will be a loss of grace and favor in performing that act of worship that was not previously performed by a Muslim. Lastly, protect people from harmful things. Islam attaches great importance to human health, where protecting oneself from harmful things is one of the goals of Sharia. Although Friday prayer is obligatory for Muslim men and congregational prayer is highly encouraged, but if in a situation that threatens human life and safety, then this demand is waived and excused. Several Muslim countries have recently issued guidelines to Muslims to curb the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. Saudi Arabia, for example, issued a temporary ban on Muslims from performing Umrah, while Iran temporarily stopped Friday prayers. All this is to keep the safety and health of the people. In conclusion, congregational prayer in Islam is a shi'ar that aims to preserve religion, which is Hifad-Din, even though it cannot be implemented at a certain time such as COVID-19 outbreak. This does not mean religion is no more preserved at a critical moment like this. In fact, it does not mean life prefers absolutely compared to religion. Other than that, such aspects stand out if the aspect of maqasid al-Sharia are not refined in the MCO and related fatwas, prohibition of Friday prayers and congregational prayers in mosques and surah. This is it which causes the release of inappropriate statements such as we fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more in order to continue the practice of worship in the mosque as usual. Religion is still preserved through instruction to continue to be preached in most administration, not more than 5 individuals. Last but not least, worship is still performed even in a pandemic situation with another approach set by fatwa from religious officials. That's all from our group. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.